Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of Kaitou Joker. Okay, so this episode is actually the first episode of Season 2, and it opens up on an interesting premise because immediately Joker is arrested. So yeah, this is the setup for the episode. Joker and Hachi are driving in the road Joker. They're in the Joker mobile. They actually show up in front of a police department with Hachi being oblivious of what Joker is actually planning. And Joker then proceeds to walk into the police department and requests that they arrest him, which obviously confuses both the police guard and Hachi, who have no idea why. And we do eventually find out why, but for the time being, Joker's just arrested and they never give us an explanation. Meanwhile, we actually meet Inspector Oniyama's family. So yeah, as it turns out, he is actually a dedicated husband and father. We actually meet his daughter Rakuta and his wife Tomoe, and they're throwing a celebration to celebrate the many years that he's gone on to try and catch Joker. And they're very supportive of his pursuit of Joker, because obviously that's the main reason they're celebrating. They're celebrating the year they've celebrated. Apparently he's been trying to catch Joker for years, and obviously this marks like the third anniversary or the several anniversaries or something since he joined the police force, and the three or so years since he's tried to catch Joker. So they've been at each other's throats for a while, and Rakuta immediately remarks to her dad that that when he does eventually catch Joker, that they'll go out and have a big massive feast at a fancy restaurant, and Oniyama promises that he will indeed do that, but for the time being, they're just going to enjoy each other's company and proceed to dig in. At which point, Oniyama actually winds up getting a phone call from Ginkgo on his phone, and he's not. While his wife is annoyed with him for talking on his phone at dinner, he merely remarks that it's a work call and that he'll be back in like 5 seconds. At which point, he turns it on. It's revealed to be a video call, and what we find out from Ginkgo and Momo is that they don't really get much in word-wise. They just tell him to turn on the TV, and he immediately does. And apparently on the underground network, apparently DJ Peacock runs both. Apparently he runs the actual daytime news as well as the underground news network, but long story short, he just announces a big thing about how Joker has been arrested and is currently in captivity and is about to be sent to Demon Heaven prison, which causes Oniyama to just kind of collapse to his knees because he has no idea how to actually respond to it, and Rakuta merely remarks how much of a joyous occasion this is because Oniyama's nemesis has finally been caught on the anniversary of him trying to catch Joker. So it is a very impressive thing, but Oniyama isn't entirely sure how to take it, and we do see little snippets in between the scenes of Joker and Hachi, but I'll get to those in a minute. Meanwhile, Joker and Hachi are being transported by boat to Demon Head Prison, which is very much a parody of Alcatraz. I think it's supposed to be. It's like there aren't many island prisons, so it has to be based on Alcatraz. I'm pretty sure, but in any case, Hachi, as they're being hauled off, Hachi asks Joker why he went and got himself arrested, and Joker doesn't give an answer. He just stares at a seagull, which actually winds up becoming important, oddly enough, but I'll get to that in a minute. But in any case, they eventually arrive at the prison, where all the guards line up to greet the new arrival, at which point we're introduced to the warden, Jason, who, despite his name, and there is a reason why he's named Jason, I'll get to that in a minute, but his name doesn't really fit his large, intimidating frame, and ghastly face, like, at all. Basically, this dude is like twice the size of a normal adult, and his face is like terrifying. So yeah, for that reason, he's a very big person. Apparently he runs a very tight ship because, as we find out, he proceeds to pull out his billy club, which is covered in spikes, and he smacks a guard for sneezing when they're supposed to be accepting new prisoners, which he remarks he told them to line up in an orderly manner, but he then proceeds to tell Joker and Hachi about how they are there, about how nobody escapes Demon Head Prison, and he remarks that they're going to be there for quite a while, and that they should make themselves comfortable, and that he expects model behavior out of them. And with that, he then leaves, and then a blue-haired guard it winds up escorting the two of them to their cells, and they're locked up. At which point Hachi asks Joker why he got arrested again, but Joker once again doesn't give an answer. It is what's interesting. But then something interesting happens. Also, there's a little vignette of Oniyama kind of wandering home drunk, and he accidentally gets pushed over by a couple. But at which point he arrives home and starts eating and is there to eat with his family. But his family has already eaten, and what we do find out from the scene is that Oniyama is kind of lost because he doesn't know what to do now that Joker's been captured. In fact earlier at work there's another scene where Ginko and Momo actually make him special with bento boxes to celebrate the fact that Joker's finally been arrested, but he doesn't eat all of them and lets them eat it himself, and then he wanders home drunk. He winds up sitting on the couch where his family just decide to unwind, clearly seeing that he's in no shape to talk. But while they're actually talking, the Japanese homophones for Kaitou and Joker actually wind up coming up both in conversation and on the TV. So he kind of swiftly turns off the TV and runs into his office to get away from his family because he's going a little bit crazy, and it's a little bit interesting as to why that's happening. But in any case, the next day, Joker is sitting at one of the dining room tables, and while he's actually in the dining room of the prison, Jason actually winds up receiving an advance notice from Joker. Oddly enough, he winds up getting a card from a seagull, which Jason just kind of looks at for a brief minute, scoffs at, and then laughs and walks off. At which point, as Joker is eating lunch, we're actually introduced to another prisoner named Greg, who isn't really a good guy. Well, obviously they're in a prison, so obviously none of them are really good people. But he makes a good impression by splashing Joker in the face with his drink for sitting in his spot, and Joker then proceeds to retaliate by splashing him in the face as well, and the two kind of get into a brief scuffle. Greg even asks Joker who the hell he thinks he is, and notes that he has an attitude problem, and he remarks that he is a quote unquote phantom thief, which Greg doesn't fully understand about. But at which point the guards actually break up the fight and knock him to the floor. At which point Jason walks in with Joker's advance notice and proceeds to kind of laugh at him, pointing out that he's in prison, and obviously the treasure he's after isn't going to be easily stolen. And even points out that he's not going to be able to do that, and also points out that since he's been arrested and a prisoner, he's not going to be able to steal anything, and that he's going to be there for quite a while. And even remarks what kind of trickery it could be. But Joker merely responds to the phantom thief, but Jason just calls him a burglar, which Joker insists aren't the same thing, and indeed they sort of are, but also sort of aren't, because the difference is that phantom thieves give advance notice and then use tools to actually steal their stuff, whereas burglars just kind of break in, steal your stuff, and you have no idea when they're going to be there. So yeah, they're actually a lot less cowardly than regular burglars. But in any case, Jason once again just laughs it off, rips up the advance notice, and then proceeds to have the blue-haired guard escort Joker to a special solitary confinement room, which the guard actually does, and actually winds up scooping him up and throws him into the solitary confinement, where it's finally revealed what Joker's actually after. We actually find out a little bit more about this via another Silverheart segment, where he kind of shows up and explains some backstory about the treasure that's actually being stolen this time around. As we find out, and we don't really see his face, we only really hear his name, but otherwise he's silhouetted out. But there was a phantom thief called Cheap Trick Nick. And we don't really know much about him, other than that he was a pretty crappy phantom thief, and he only ever stole one treasure of any value. That treasure being the moon ring, which was on the which Nick actually found from the scraps on the floor. But what we find out is that he stole the moon ring, but quickly realized that there were many threats made on his life because of it. So what he decided to do was he actually decided to go one place where he could never actually be attacked and could easily hide the moon ring, and that was to get himself arrested and get sent to Demon Heaven Penitentiary, which is why Joker's there. And while Nick has long since passed on because of a cold. And complications that came from that. The moon ring was never actually found and is likely somewhere in the prison, so nobody's entirely sure where it is. But in any case, it then comes back to where Joker is now running around in solitary confinement, trying to actually figure out if there's any sort of place where Nick may have hid the ring. And sure enough, he actually hid a piece of his image gum in a false tooth, which he then proceeds to chew on to make a knife so that he can actually carve out a segment of the wall. And the cameras actually watch him, but they never actually send a guard to go and stop him, because said guard who actually does go to stop him is revealed to be Spade. So yeah, the blue-haired guard I've been mentioning for the past couple of minutes of this review is actually revealed to be Spade, who Joker is annoyed to see, pointing out that not only is Joker going after the treasure first, but on the other side of that, Spade is dressed up as a guard, which confuses the hell out of Joker, and Spade merely remarks that it's a lot more advantageous to be a guard because he can go to places where Joker normally wouldn't be able to go, so he's able to explore more places more freely. But obviously, Joker points out once Spade leaves that there is indeed an inherent problem with that, which is that Cheap Trick Nick was a criminal, and obviously since he was a prisoner, he would obviously have only gone in places where criminals are allowed to go. Spade unwittingly made his situation a lot more complicated, and he's never actually going to be able to find what he's looking for because he's going in too many different places at once. But in case the next day, they're actually in the yard, and Spade is making the prisoners all run laps, which include Joker and Hachi. But Joker and Hachi, as they're running, actually wind up discussing their treasure. And also we find out that Greg is actually talking to Jason in his office. But in any case, they're actually running around. They're actually running around in circles, and Joker just kind of catches Hachi up on what's going on and what they're trying to find. At which point, Greg comes out and decides to actually talk to them. And Joker thinks that he wants to settle the score that they had yesterday, so he immediately gets into a fighting stance and is about to lay Greg out. But Greg merely responds that that's not why he's there, and reveals that he's actually an old cellmate of Jason's. Apparently he was Jason's old cellmate, not Jason, but Nick's old cellmate. But he remarks that Nick hid it, then Nick likely hid the ring somewhere. But doesn't really know where it could be, and also asks if Joker really is a phantom thief, and Joker merely responds with pride that he is indeed a miracle maker, and that's what he does. So Greg then proceeds to kind of laugh a little bit to himself and wonders if he'll actually be able to see one of those miracles one day. But they then proceed to actually discuss Nick's habits, about what kind of person he was, and as they're actually describing them, and this is a really funny thing where Hachi actually winds up demonstrating in real time what kind of person Nick was, which is that Nick always fell down, got sick real often, and often got trampled, which is exactly what happens to Hachi on screen. But when Spade actually hears the two of them talking, mentioning about how Nick got sick often, he realizes that the best way to look is in the infirmary. So he starts poking around. And he starts doing that, but then he winds up hugging the wall trying to find something, and winds up finding something soft and squishy, which is revealed to be Jason's face, who just stuck his head in the door and proceeds to quickly realize that Spade isn't in fact a guard, and swiftly has him arrested and thrown in a cell, which is revealed to be right next to Joker's. And obviously, that happens a little bit later. But in the process, while they're actually on their way to getting clean, Hachi is actually bathing in the sink and remarks that he'll never get the sand out of his hair. But it's at this point where Joker notices something is strange about the faucet that Hachi is using. Namely that it's going all over the place and it has a very cone-shaped spray to it, which shouldn't be a thing. So to further investigate this, he winds up turning the rest of the fountains on, and what we find out is that it was only the one Hachi was doing that was doing the weird spraying. At which point Joker realizes where the moon ring actually is hidden and winds up unscrewing it, which is revealed to have the moon ring inside. So which Hachi is actually very happy about now that they found the moon ring, but then proceeds to remark that now all they have to do is get out. When Joker, at this point Joker just balks. He has no idea what to actually do because he apparently didn't think of an escape plan. He was just like, okay, I have the ring. Now what? He didn't really plan ahead for that, which Hachi obviously starts bawling because he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison. But in case they then proceed to go back to their cells, where again it's revealed that Spade has actually been arrested. And thrown in jail, but which he's obviously not very happy about. And to add insult to injury, Joker just kind of shows off his prize that he got now that he's found the moon ring, with Spade obviously being very annoyed about the fact that Joker wound up getting to the treasure before him. At which point Joker reveals that he actually did have an escape plan. He just wasn't telling anybody about it, which is that not so much an escape plan as so much as he planned ahead a little bit. But what he does is he takes a piece of his loaf of bread that they give to the prisoners and uses it to lure the seagull over to him again, which is revealed to have a bunch of canisters with all of his gear in it. So yeah, once the seagull actually winds up landing, he actually winds up retrieves a remote first and foremost that's tied around the bird's ankle, and then proceeds to actually reel all the canisters in and starts opening them all up and starts dressing up in all of them, and eventually gets decked out in his full gear. And with that, he then uses his tools to actually set himself and Hachi free. But Spade hollers after Joker, telling them that he's not leaving him, and then proceeds to unlock his own door because he has the key because he was a guard. So, which of course causes Joker to become very annoyed with him, and also Hachi. And then now that the three of them are free, they then proceed to run off to the locker rooms, where it's revealed that Spade also hid all of his Phantom Thief gear in a locker, because he was a guard and he had the advantage to do that. When Joker and Hachi again are very annoyed with him, and Spade merely remarks that he's not going to just let the Phantom Thief, not just going to walk around undignified, and then with that they proceed to find a way to actually escape out of the prison. Meanwhile, back home, Oniyama walks home again, and he's still depressed about the fact that Joker has been arrested and caught in prison. And what we actually find out is that he doesn't tell his wife and daughter about this, but he actually walks into his office and starts signing his resignation. So that's an established part of his character. So what we find out is that apparently chasing after Joker was the only thing that really gave his life meaning, and now that Joker's been arrested, he has nothing and is depressed. So he's thinking of retiring, and that's very much an interesting thing. But it doesn't wind up panning out, and for obvious reasons, since obviously Joker and Spade do wind up eventually escaping prison. So yeah, in any case, as the three Phantom Thieves are actually sneaking through the hallway, and they actually come to the entrance of the prison, where they realize they need to actually sneak past the guards in order to get out. Which as they're doing that, Hachi actually spies a mouse out of the corner of his eye and panics, which causes the guards to immediately surround them. At which point Joker uses a combination of their smoke bomb and cutter cards to actually both A, shut off the power to the prison, and B, create a smoke screen so that they can knock out the guards. With that, they then proceed to get ready to try and escape, and even start feeling around for an exit that they can use, when they feel something soft and squishy again, and it's revealed to be Jason's face, which they remark as a ghost, but Jason merely tells them that it's rude to call someone a ghost, but Joker merely remarks that he's worse. So, at which point Jason reveals that what his actual plan was, which is that he wanted them to find the moon ring. He set up, then that's why he didn't send any guards after them. He used the Phantom Thieves to find the moon ring so he could steal it from them later. And obviously, he had Greg to thank for that, and who kind of informed him about what was going on, and at which point Jason then proceeds to stab Greg in the back the arrangement is established that that Greg was going to be released immediately if he told Jason the information, but Jason just reduced his sentence from 150 years to 100, which again is just cruel and unusual punishment, just sitting in a prison until you rot. But it's clear that Jason is a very cruel individual, and as case in point, his billy club has spikes on it, to add to that cruel thing, where he proceeds to offer them to basically serve a life sentence in prison in exchange for the moon ring. They obviously, when they outright refuse, he reveals that in addition to his billy club being covered in spikes, is also a taser, and it is electrified, and he proceeds to chase after him with it, he remarks that kids who disobey him will get the death penalty, which Hachi merely responds is the same thing either way, so it doesn't really matter. At which point they run off, and Jason proceeds to just chase them through the prison cells, and in order to try and escape him, they actually use their image gum to turn themselves invisible, which Jason remarks is a pretty clever game of hide and seek, but he remarks that that's not going to work, and then proceeds to pull out a mask that looks like Jason Voorhees' hockey mask from the Friday the 13th movies, hence why his name is Jason. So, that was a very obvious reference to Friday the 13th in retrospect. But in case, what we do find out about his mask is that it enables him to see thermal. Basically, it has thermal lenses in the mask, which enable him to see anything regardless of where they're hiding. And also enable him to see in the dark as an extension of that. Case in point, he makes a big show of walking past the Phantom Thieves who are now invisible, only to turn around and try and club them in the head, which they then proceed to run off, and at which point it's revealed how his mask works. And they then proceed to start running off and trying to get away from him, and decide to actually hide in the cells and actually pretend to be prisoners, which winds up not working because, again, Jason uses his mask to actually find out where they are by pointing out that since they've been running around, they're obviously very hot and sweaty, and obviously their body heat will be higher. So he manages to find them among the sleeping prisoners. At which point Joker kicks him in the face and knocks him into the wall, where he actually knocks him into Greg's cell, who proceeds to put him in an arm lock. And proceeds to tell Joker and the others to actually flee, and that he'll hold off Jason for the time being. And tells them that this should make them even, and indeed Joker solemnly nods to him, and the three of them proceed to run off. And at which point Greg tells them to go make a miracle, but it's at this point where Jason actually just winds up billy clubbing him in the head and knocking him out, and proceeds to continue his pursuit after the Phantom Thieves. And eventually the three of them actually wind up running into the showers, where they quickly realize it's a dead end. But then Joker actually comes up with a great idea and asks Spade to turn on all the showers and tells Hachi to do the same. And while Hachi doesn't fully understand what they're doing, Joker and Spade understands immediately, and they turn on all the showers. And we find out why initially, when Jason actually walks in, again, pointing out that it's a dead end and that there's no way for them to actually escape. When he walks in, he initially can't see them because there's so much shower water everywhere that the hot water is actually messing with his thermal vision, and he can't see them. At which point, but obviously since he's the warden, he just orders the water to be shut off so that he can actually see again. Which winds up working, and he eventually finds the Phantom Thief slumped against the wall, or at least he thinks he does. And I'll get to that in a minute. But he immediately goes into his barrage of billy clubbing them to death and tasing them to death with his electrified billy club. But well, but eventually, when he hears them still talking and messing with him and throwing taunts at him, and even though as he remarks, they should be dead because they have so many volts going through them. Joker eventually tells him to take off his mask, and he'll see why they're still alive. At which point he takes off his mask, and it's revealed that what he actually thought was the Phantom Thieves was actually a bunch of towels reshaped in their likeness and soaked with the hot water, so that Jason thought they were actual bodies. And of course, Jason quickly realizing he's been tricked, proceeds to charge at the Phantom Thieves with his billy club. But by this point, the Phantom Thieves are prepared for him, and Joker then proceeds to use his straight flash technique to blind him. And then Spade uses his freeze gun to actually knock him off his feet, and through the combined effort, they manage to take him down and knock him out. And now with him defeated and disposed for the time being, they then proceed to get ready to escape. And Jason immediately assembles his guards and tries to chase after him, and he sees their balloon, and he sees they're trying to escape with their hover gun, and immediately has the smart idea to just shoot them down, which works, except for the fact that they've actually used the towel trick again. But to actually trick him into thinking that they were actually the Phantom Thieves when actually they were not, and they actually wind up escaping on a prison boat, which is revealed to not be a prison boat, but rather a disguised prison boat using the image gun, and Dark Eye is revealed to be driving it, and Dark Eye is just happy to see his master again, and tells Spade that he's happy he's no longer in prison. What we find, while Spade asks Joker what they're going to do next, and Joker just remarks that now that they've got the moon ring, they can just kind of chill out, and enjoy the ride back to the mainland. And that's exactly what they do, and they decide to actually take up a bit of fishing while they do it. Meanwhile, Oniyama is about to retire. He has his resignation in his hand and is about to leave the house and go turn it in. When he suddenly gets a call from Ginkgo and Momo, who once again repeating what they said to him at the beginning of the episode, to turn on the news and go investigate because there's something about Joker on the news. At which point Oniyama immediately turns it on, and what we find out is that Joker has actually escaped from prison, which of course means that Oniyama is no longer retiring, which of course means he has renewed his newfound vigor and is now ready to go and arrest Joker now that he has his reason for living back. This episode is interesting for a number of reasons. I mean, the main thing here is that Joker, obviously there's the thing that there are other Phantom Thieves other than the ones portrayed by Silverheart, which is an obvious thing that was obviously going to come up at some point. But more to the point, this episode kind of showcases how much Joker actually means to Oniyama as a rival, and as a potential pain in the ass, as I should put it. Because obviously, once Joker got arrested, Oniyama lost his interest in being a cop and almost retired. So clearly Joker means a lot to him, or more specifically, catching Joker means a lot to him. And obviously, since he was the one to catch him, he kind of lost his purpose in life and wasn't entirely sure what to do with his life now that Joker had been arrested. But obviously, it all worked out, or at least for the better, because Joker wound up not being arrested in the end. But for the most part, this episode is actually kind of interesting for that reason. And also, there's one last little thing that I didn't mention, but because it was on all the camera systems, Jason actually wound up being exposed as a cruel warden, and he was immediately kicked out, and now the prison is going into a reform. So yeah, for that reason, that's kind of a happy thing. But in any case, this episode was interesting. So that's my review of Kaitou Joker. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It does really help me out. And you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks. I'm always saying thanks. So just, go check those out. Be sure to support me down in the description or over on the end screen. And speaking of the end screen, if you want to see more content from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen as well. Then the top video is the most recent one, whereas the bottom video is based on what you've already seen from me. So if you want to try either of those, be sure to go check them out. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!